Hello, so today I'm going to be analyzing a game I played back around last year in September when I was still 1600 on chess.com Rapid. And this is before I changed my openings. But, I like this game because I had a pretty creative idea here. So, without further ado, let's start it. D4, knight to f6 is played. And here they go c4. I play g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7, e4, and I go d6, which is the King's Indian defense. Now the computer does not like this opening. As you can see, it's already a +1 advantage for my opponent. Simply because in the King's Indian, you give up a lot of space. It's one of the more risky openings to play because you give up the center. But I'm pretty sure the idea of the King's Indian is to start an attack on the king with stuff like f5 in the future, and then you push the pawns. The reason why I started playing the King's Indian is because I saw a game that Hikaru played, where he sacrificed his queen like 5 to 6 times. Knight to f3, castles, bishop to e2. I play the King's Indian sometimes, and then here I go bishop to g4 because. And the reason why I go bishop g4 is because I want to go knight to d7 and prepare e5. But if I do that now, then this bishop is blocked by the knight, and it won't really be doing much if I go b6, bishop b7, and try to pressure some pawns. It's not going to be doing much. So I immediately try to trade it off with bishop g4. And here I go knight to c6 here, a provocative move. The idea is after they go d6, and then I retreat my knight, there's going to be some weak central squares in the position. I mean d5. But here I take first, and then centralize my knight with knight to e5. Now, knight to e5 attacks knight and the pawn, I mean the bishop and the pawn here. And my opponent goes bishop to e2, simply defending the pawn. I go knight to e8 with an idea to go f5, but here they go f4 and play f5 themselves. And as you can see, in the beginning, I'm having a pretty garbage position to play here. I mean, as you can see, my knight isn't really doing much. They're starting an attack on my king. This rook is garbage. This rook isn't playing at all. And so how did I win this game? You'll see later. I play knight ef6. Now, because I was like, oh yeah, f5 is impossible, just play knight ef6, closing off this file. Bishop to f4 is played. The idea is probably to set up e5 things in the future, I don't know. And here I go knight to c5. Now knight to c5 immediately attacks pawn. So they go bishop to f3, and here I go a5. Now, the idea of a5 is to prevent b4 from happening. Now, that wasn't possible before, get it? Because if you go here now, I just take. So b4 it wasn't possible. But now I go a5. g4 is played. Now the idea of g4 is simple. They want to set up an attack on the king side. I go queen to b8. And the idea of this move, the engine does not like it. But my idea of this was, okay, so I see this diagonal is weak. So what if I put a queen there? Plus, I also need to connect my rooks. So if I play queen to b8 with a purpose of putting my queen on the a7 square, not only that, connecting my rooks here, then I think my position's gonna be decent. They go g5, knight fd7 is played, and they go for h4, just going full attack mode on my king. So here, before playing queen to a7, I was like, oh, what if this? Knight to b5. But, I could have just went queen to b6, defended this, and some checks are incoming. They would have had to move the king out of the way. But I go c6 with an idea to not only challenge his pawn, but if you take now, then now you have less space in the center. That's pretty much the idea. h5 is played. Now the idea of h5 is to go here. I can't really do much about it, because if I take either pawn, then the g file is going to be open. I don't want that. So I go queen to a7, and now knight to b5 is impossible. But I'm just losing, according to the computer. According to the computer, they have a plus 1.44 advantage, which is a pawn. And here, they go king to g2, escaping the diagonal. Right over here. And here I centralize my knight with knight to e5. Here they take. As you can see, the engine immediately doesn't like that move. Why? Why does the engine not like this move? Well, first of all, you're giving up your bishop pair. Yes, before you had a bishop pair. Not only that, you had an attack boom. You see, now they're up 2 pawns. They can open up my king, and they're gonna crush with this bishop pair. Plus, yeah, sure, this knight's pressuring this pawn, this bishop, everything, and all that. But I mean, you could have just went here. You still would have been fine. Plus, if you have a space advantage, always remember to never trade pieces, especially when you're attacking, because this knight isn't really defending much. So they take. Now I take, and suddenly, as you can see, the positions become equal. Well, we didn't see the evaluation while we were playing, of course. I didn't know that at the time. H takes to g6, f takes to g6, f takes to g6, and h takes to g6 is played. And now I'm in an advantageous position, because after all of that happened, because I traded off their bishop, suddenly my rook is active, and now you get to see why I somehow managed to win this game, because of all of the pawns they pushed, somehow my king managed to be safer, because I have an attack brewing in the future. Plus, if we look at piece activity here, my knight's doing a great job here. You can never kick it out with b4 because of my a pawn. And if you try to go a6 setting up b4, then already a4 is a strong move. Now what a4 does is prevents this, because I can go en passant, and also it sets up the anchor on the knight b3 square. So everything is just good here. They go rook to h1. I go rook to f7. And here they blunder with bishop to g4. Now you can pause the video to solve the problem. Black to play and absolutely destroy the white king. So this isn't a checkmate, this is more of just a nice move. This is the reason why I like this game so much. So if you're done, the move is to sacrifice the horse. Knight to d3. You sacrifice the horse. They take, which is a blunder. Now, according to the engine, the best move is rook to h6, trying to counterattack. But then I would have had to find queen to f2, and then the king has to go on the h file. And then I would have had to play rook h7. And this is already a crushing position, because queen to h2 is coming, and there's not much you can do about that. Like, sure, you can give a check. I just go king to h8. You can take, but again, my attack is way too strong. So, but they take immediately, which blunders a maiden 4 with queen to f2 check. King is forced to go to f3. To h3, and you're wondering why I played rook to h7 instead of queen to g3, because that's a blunder. You blundered a piece. You're losing. You resign. So that is not a checkmate. Instead, I go rook to h7, simply checking the king with my rook, and they're forced to block. And this is simply checkmate. So really, the fact that I had a losing position in the beginning, like I had no advantage, but because my opponent chose to trade some of their good pieces for some of my decent pieces, they suddenly lost their advantage, and then they traded all these pawns. You see, if you don't know how to trade properly, you will lose games like this. And I just got an advantage with knight to d3. That is the end of the video. Bye.